Wealth inequality doesn't matter in a free market system. Let me explain. The term wealth inequality is a negative term often used by leftist socialists to describe why the financial health of the working class is struggling. The logic of the argument goes something like this. Rich people are rich because they stole the wealth from the working class. So, if we just taxed all the rich people wealth away from all the millionaires and billionaires, and redistributed it back to the working class, poverty would cease to exist. Then, with all the billionaire wealth, we could finally fund our socialist programs, such as free healthcare for everyone. Everything about this economic worldview is wrong. Number one, free markets are simply property rights and free trade. Mutual trade is beneficial, not exploitative. You are free to buy or refuse to transact. A core idea of economics is that mutual trade and free trade is a win-win relationship. I willingly give my money to Amazon, Apple, and Nvidia for their products. I may give them $1,000 of my money and I get a high quality product like the iPhone. Both parties benefit in this transaction. I need the products that Apple has and Apple needs my dollars. There's generally no way to make billions of dollars unless people willingly transact with you because you offer a product or service that is more valuable to them than any other competing business. Free trade is a good thing. When you pioneer new industries, such as Nvidia pioneering computer graphics cards, you will become a billionaire. The market benefits, and for your innovation, you will get rewarded billions of dollars. Wealth inequality is a useless metric to prove that something bad has happened in an economic sense. If the population of America was 10 times more, his wealth inequality would be 10 times greater. This ratio is arbitrary and meaningless. Wealth inequality in a free market with competition is actually a good thing, showing that an individual is offering immense value to many people. If no one had billions of dollars, that would mean that no one offered billions of dollars of value to the marketplace. The idea of businesses in general being exploitative and economic ideas like supply and demand being a bad thing is a straw man. In socialist countries, and more generally countries without free markets, where political cronyism rewards leaders of government or just rewards whoever can lobby the government to put in anti-free market laws, wealth inequality is actually a bad thing, because wealth inequality in a socialist country does not indicate that you brought millions of dollars of value. Number two, middle class people struggle because of their primary expenses, housing and healthcare. Government interventionism makes these sectors extremely expensive. Wealth inequality is completely unrelated to their financial health. Generally, housing takes up about 33% of people's income, and healthcare can take up another 10% to 25% of their income, including the amount that employers pay for healthcare coverage. As I covered in my videos on housing and healthcare, the government has been extremely powerful in a very negative way in making housing and healthcare more expensive. When the government turns a free market into an anti-free market, we can observe the bad outcomes for the middle class. The problem is the government, not the existence of wealth inequality. Number three, wealth in an economy is not measured by dollars. Wealth is primarily measured by the quality of products and services you have access to, which in the modern era is sky high. Quality of life and financial health are two different things. The problem that the middle class has is financial health, primarily because of factors like housing and healthcare, which can be fixed. The problem in these sectors is that government interventionism has made these sectors extremely expensive. During the era of massive capitalism in the last 100 years, poverty has declined massively. Number four, the tax system in the USA is already extremely progressive and fundamentally functions as wealth redistribution, with money flowing from the top quintiles to the lower quintiles of earners. See my video on taxes for more explanation. Number 5. Even if you seized 100% of billionaire wealth through a wealth tax, you would fund the government for just 1 year. You could never fund socialist programs like free healthcare or free housing. Ending wealth inequality would achieve nothing and pay for nothing. The US government spends about $6 trillion per year and spends about $4 trillion per year just on the welfare state. Programs like free healthcare for all are estimated to require about $3 to $5 trillion per year. All of the billionaire wealth that exists would pay for just 1 year of current US government spending. If we split all $6 trillion of billionaire wealth among 300 million Americans, every American would receive about $20,000. This is clearly not going to make everyone rich and fix the cost of living. This shows why ideas like taxing the rich are superficial attempts at fixing middle class financial health without addressing root causes of why these problems exist. Number 6. CEO pay is not why wages are low or stagnant. People claim that the reason worker wages are so low is because CEOs get paid so much. The problem is that CEOs have mansions and yachts. They buy these things at the expense of the average worker. The reality is, most businesses run at a profit margin of 5% to 10%. Walmart itself has a profit margin of about 2%. Your wages are your share of the profits. CEOs get paid millions of dollars because they control companies which have billions of dollars of revenue. If the CEO makes good decisions, they can make the company billions of dollars in revenue or lose the company billions. The CEO of Walmart made $27 million in 2024. If we divided his pay among Walmart's 2.1 million employees, every employee would get a bonus of a grand total of $12 per year. Now we can see that even though CEOs get paid hundreds of times more than the average worker, they get paid more because of the direct value in the business that they manage, and reducing their pay would achieve nothing. Number 7. Billionaires hoarding cash doesn't matter, and it's not an economic black hole which grinds the economy to a halt. Firstly, you willingly trade your money for their products and services, so that free trade is beneficial to everyone. Secondly, this is called the fixed pie fallacy, which views the economy as a fixed pie, where billionaires simply collect all the available money in goods and services, leaving everyone else out in poverty. This is a fallacy in economics. Anyone who does work or creates new products and services is expanding the economy. The economy started out in the Stone Age with no products and services. The economy is not dependent on the $6 trillion of billionaire wealth being spent tomorrow, or else the entire economy will fail. The total wealth of the USA, including middle class people, is upwards of $150 trillion. Also, people with lots of money generally invest their money into either bonds or stocks, which furthers economic growth. This is the exact same thing that middle class people do when they try to save their mony. Also, the people who have money stored, such as billionaires or just the middle class, have the right to store it and not spend it. Their money is not communally owned and entitled to the state. This is the definition of communism. Number 8. Poverty does not exist just because the rich have lots of money. This is a shallow economic strawman. Generally, the reason that billionaires exist is because they built companies which increased value and lowered prices for consumers. In this regard, billionaires directly improve the lives of the poor and the middle class, which is the entire point of capitalism. The reasons for poverty existing and the middle class struggling are covered in my various videos on taxes, the welfare state, healthcare, and housing. All human beings, from even 100 years ago, lived in poverty conditions and did not have access to any of the quality of life services that even people in poverty have access to today. The ratio of the wealthy to the middle class is completely unrelated. The idea that poverty exists because rich people exist is wrong. Number 9. If politicians can be bought and alter the free market to create an anti-free market that benefits specific corporations, the problem is the government, not with wealth inequality or free markets. Number 10. Most wealth is held by the middle class and upper middle class. The bottom 50% will always have close to 0% of the total wealth. In discussions about wealth inequality, there is always a comparison of the top 1% to the bottom 50%. This comparison is very misleading. The bottom 50% virtually always has no wealth at all. This is just an economic reality. Meanwhile, the middle class and upper middle class, which ranges from approximately the 50th percentile to the 99th percentile, own the majority of the wealth in the United States. Wealth also stratifies heavily by age group. Seniors are often able to have a net worth of millions of dollars in retirement. The comparison between the top 1% and bottom 50% is very misguided and attempts to show economic injustice and implies that the bottom 50% have no wealth and live in poverty because the top 1% have all of the money. This is wrong on multiple levels. It is an arbitrary comparison and suggests that wealth inequality is creating a grand injustice. It suggests that free trade is not beneficial but exploitative. Critics of wealth inequality try to suggest that accumulation of wealth itself is evil, exploitative, and causes others to live in poverty. This is why there's always such a focus on the top 1% and bottom 50%. These economic claims are very false and very misleading. Also, as mentioned previously, the tax system generally functions as wealth redistribution, where money flows heavily from the top quintiles of earners to the bottom 50%. Number 11. Supply-side economics, also called trickle-down economics, is real and works. Wealth actually does trickle down. The idea of trickle-down economics, more correctly called supply-side economics, is the idea that strong businesses and innovation are the backbone of an economy, leading to the middle class becoming stronger. This idea has been proclaimed a complete failure by leftist socialists because ever since the 1980s with Ronald Reagan, they claim the wealth has not trickled down. They point out that poor people still exist and the richest households in America are much richer than the bottom 50%. This is a complete misunderstanding of what the idea of supply-side economics is. The idea of supply-side economics is a focus on empowering businesses to be as successful and innovative as possible. This leads to higher value products and services, as well as more efficiencies in price over time. Innovation is a feature of free markets. Individuals getting rich while providing value to the economy is a feature of capitalism. Contrary to popular opinion, profits and greed are a good thing. They act as an economic engine where the only way to earn more money is to increase value, make prices more efficient, and make customers more pleased. Businesses that increase value for the consumer will make more money, but businesses that do not increase value for the consumer will lose money to competitors who do. All people in an economy, both businesses and consumers, have always been greedy and want to maximize their value for their money. Profits and greed are always a constant and are always good. An example of an economy with no supply-side economics is the Sahara Desert. Currently, there are no businesses and factories in the Sahara Desert. If you dropped 1 million people into the Sahara Desert, there would be no places to work and no products or services to buy from. This is an example of an economy with no opportunity and no supply-side economics. The Sahara Desert has no wealth inequality at all. Supply-side economics functions as opportunity. The Sahara Desert exists in the Stone Age of supply-side economics. The idea of supply-side economics being a failure because the financial health of the middle class is struggling is wrong. As covered previously, there's a difference between quality of life and financial health. Quality of life is value in the economy of the products and services. This is the true measure of supply-side economics and is clearly real and clearly works. Meanwhile, financial health is prices, which for most sectors in the economy, such as technology or cars or grocery stores, gets more efficient over time. The primary expenses of the middle class are healthcare and housing. Unfortunately, these are some of the most heavily regulated sectors where the government has so much control it essentially forces businesses to operate however the government mandates due to hyper-regulation. The government even mandates prices using price controls in both the housing and healthcare sectors. These sectors are simply anti-free market in many ways. With all this in mind, we can see that supply-side economics, which is just the power of free markets, is an economic fact. The only time it does not work is when the government greatly interferes in the economy and creates anti-free market, which predictably leads to value stagnating and prices skyrocketing. Supply-side economics works. Government intervention in free markets and socialism does not work.